Okay, welcome to our marathon lesson. This is the one we're doing. We're looking at 12 through 18, which means we're going to be moving fast, jogging a little bit, and I hope you had a chance to read it. There is so much in it that it's stunning. And so we're going to just be able to hit touches, okay? So as we begin, we ask the Lord to be here in our midst. We ask Him to fill us and open up our hearts and our minds and give us an understanding that is beyond ourselves, okay? So that's what we ask and beseech the Lord to come down and be with us through this hour. To begin, we're going to David and I are just going to bounce back and forth and let you remember umbrella of what we're looking at today. Okay? Are you ready?
Ready. 1, 2, 3, go.
Chapter 12. Great signs are coming. A woman appears. She's about to give birth to a baby. The dragon comes up to destroy the child. Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought the dragon, defeated him, and he was thrown down to the earth with his angels. Being thrown to the earth, the dragon persecutes the woman and wages war against her offspring.
Chapter 13. The beast came out of the sea of chaos. The dragon gave the beast power and authority. The earth dwellers were amazed at the beast. The whole earth followed him. He blasphemed God. He waged war against the saints. This calls for faithfulness and endurance from the saints. And another beast comes up. He does great signs. He set up idols. And this calls for wisdom from the saints. The beast has a number. It is 666.
Chapter 14. Then I saw the Lamb with 144,000 who had the Father's name on their foreheads. They sang a new song before the throne, a special song that only the redeemed could sing. There were angels flying overhead. The first one proclaimed, "Fear God, give Him the glory." The second one said, "Babylon the Great has fallen." The third one proclaimed, "All who follow the beast will drink the wine of God's wrath." This calls for endurance from the saints. The next sign was the Son of Man with a sharp sickle in his hand. The time to reap the harvest has come.
Chapter 15. The next sign was 7 angels with the 7 last plagues. But first, those who had won the victory over the beast sang. They sang the song of Moses. They sang the song of the Lamb. And then I saw the heavenly tabernacle opened, and out of the tabernacle came 7 angels with 7 plagues, which were in 7 golden bowls. These bowls were filled with the wrath of God.
Chapter 16. Pour out those 7 golden bowls of wrath on the earth. First, there were sores on the earth dwellers. Second, the sea turned to blood. All life in the sea died. The third, the rivers and the springs became blood. The fourth, the sun scorched people with fire. The fifth, there was darkness. The sixth, the great river Euphrates, the birthplace of life, dried up. It became the place called Armageddon. The seventh, it is done. And a great earthquake split Babylon the Great.
Chapter 17. Then I was shown a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, covered with blasphemous names. She was adorned as if royalty. She held a golden cup that was filled with everything detestable. On her forehead a name was written, Babylon the Great, the mother of detestable things on the earth. And I saw that woman was drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the witnesses to Jesus. The angel said to me, the woman you saw is the great city that has royal power over the kings of the earth.
Chapter 18, I saw another angel with great authority call out in a mighty voice, "It has fallen. Babylon the Great has fallen." Another voice said, "Come out of her, my people. The kings of the earth will weep and mourn. The merchants and the seafarers will weep and mourn. Woe to the great city. Then a mighty angel picked up a stone like a large millstone and threw it into the sea, saying, "In this way, Babylon, the great city, will be thrown down violently and never be found again." The sound of harpists, musicians, flutists, and trumpeters will never be heard in you again. No craftsman of any trade will ever be found in you again. The sound of a mill will never be heard in you again. The light of a lamp will never shine in you again. And the voice of a groom and a bride will never be heard in you again. All this will happen because your merchants were the nobility of the earth, because all the nations were deceived by your sorcery. In her was found the blood of prophets and saints and all of those slaughtered on the earth. Welcome.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to rewind the tape all the way back to chapter 12 and then work our way again. We wanted to begin with this overview so you kind of get a grasp on what we're going to be covering today.
I thought you did a good job on that.
Well, Gail wrote all of that. That was great. So we're going to go back into chapter 12. And I hope I'm not the only one who's experienced this. But have you ever had one of those dreams where, like as you're remembering it the next day, it's like, that was really weird. It made sense in the moment, but right now that is completely bizarre. Like I was driving the car, but the car was also somehow my dad.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it makes sense in the moment. Like, yeah, of course my dad's a Corvette, whatever. And that's kind of what we have going on here in Revelation 12, especially around this woman that appears. Okay, and so I want us to spend some time thinking together, who is this woman? And we need to start from a place of, there are multiple correct answers here, right? Because it shifts as we read. But who is this woman in chapter 12?
She got wings
She has wings. Yeah.
to rise up away from.
To escape the dragon, right? Yeah, that's chasing her. That's right.
She's a mother.
She's a mother. Yeah, that's right. In fact, I mean, that's how she's introduced, right? She gives birth to this child.
I mean, there's some obvious parallels to Mary
Right.
in this. Her obviously giving birth, and then going away to Egypt, all of that. So there, whether that is Mary or not, there's certainly some hints that there's some similarities.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, this child that she gives birth to is described from the in the words of Psalm 2. She'll give birth to a son, a male child, who will rule all the nations with an iron scepter. Right? This messianic prophecy from Psalm 2. And so, okay, whoever this person is, gave birth to Jesus, right? That's who we're talking about. So obviously Mary is part of this picture. That's part of who we're supposed to be imagining here. And I think that's probably the starting place. Like, we read this, and we're like, oh, it's Mary. Okay, I get what's going on here. And then we keep reading, it's like, oh, there's more going on here, maybe.
Israel.
It's Israel, right, yeah. Because there is a sense in which Israel is the mother of Jesus, right? And it's from Israel that Jesus comes. Jesus is Israel's Messiah. And as we read this story, not only does it mirror Mary's journey, it also mirrors Israel's journey through the desert, being chased by a powerful enemy. I mean, all of that mirrors Israel's story as well. What else could it be?
And protected for these represented amounts of time.
Right.
Receiving protection.
Yeah, all along the way, there are these moments where, okay, the dragon's not going to get you. The dragon's not going to get you. Right? Or if the dragon is attacking you, it's not going to last forever.
The daughter of Zion.
The daughter of Zion. Okay, say more about that.
So, who ultimately was able to produce the son that would crush the head of the serpent.
Yeah. Yeah, so this expectation that we have for Zion and the one who comes from Zion is fulfilled here. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Who else?
What about the church?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the church is absolutely pictured here. When I was in Israel, there's a church that's in, where was it? It was in Nazareth. And it's the place where the Annunciation took place, right? Or one of the locations, there's a church built there. And outside, like the whole thing, it kind of retells the story. Like there's this place where it said Mary received this word from Gabriel. But outside, it was interesting because as you're walking in, there's these words in Latin that say Mother Church. Right? That we're telling a story about Mary, but it's bigger than that. That all who enter this place, all who are faithful to Christ, have for themselves a mother, and that mother is church, right? It is from the church that all of the followers of Jesus are born, right? And I know that's my experience. This is the life, my spiritual life was given to me by the church, right? It is in a very real sense, my mother, in a spiritual sense. Okay, so the church is there too. What else could this mother represent? Any other important moms in the Bible? What about the very first one? I think there's a bit of Eve here too, right? Except this mother is not giving birth to all living things. It's like giving new life to all living things, right? It's the renewal.
There's like birth pains.
Yeah.
Eve had, so I think that's like supposed to be calling out some connection back to Eve.
Right. Yeah. This is in travail that all of this is taking place. Absolutely. Okay, so I think we needed that to start with because if we're going to understand what's going on in chapter 12, we have to understand that it is multi-layered, right? It doesn't just mean one thing. There's all kinds of threads that we're trying to be invited to look at. But it tells essentially the story of what the church experiences while the dragon is trying to fight God, right? And it's almost this very shortened version of the entire gospel, right? Christ is born into the world, and what does the dragon try to do? Destroy him, right? But he gets caught up to heaven. He's out of reach of the dragon. Dragon wages war, and he's cast down to the earth. And what does the dragon do once he's down there?
Make life miserable for everybody there.
That's right. Yeah. Like, okay, I can't touch the mother, and I can't touch the son, but I can touch all of her offspring. I can touch those who call themselves faithful to Christ. I can touch the offspring of this mother. And so I'm going to go chase them and make their lives miserable. And then we transition into chapter 13. Because even though the battle is won ultimately, the dragon's going to keep fighting. Dragon's going to find a way to consume as much as he possibly can before the end. And then we are introduced to these beasts in chapter 13. And I kind of want to read through this again just in little snippets because there's certain points that I think are really important for us to see. This is verse 1, chapter 13. The dragon stood on the shore of the sea, and I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on its horns, and on in each head a blasphemous name. The beast I saw resembled a leopard, but had feet like those of a bear and a mouth like those of a lion, which all of those sound, I would not be able to tell any of that apart, which is interesting. Because they're all crazy, scary animals that look similar. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. Okay, right there. The dragon is not in this alone. And it's as if he is trying to, like he's like the board of trustees who was appointing a CEO to do his dirty work, right? Like, okay, I'm really standing back here, but I'm going to find someone else to come in and do exactly. I'm appointing them. I'm empowering them to do the work I am already trying to do, but you're not going to see me so much. You're just going to be seeing this beast at work. And look at what this beast does. He's empowered in all these ways. And then verse 5, the beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies and to exercise its authority for 42 months. It opened its mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. It was given power to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them. And it was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. It's that piece in verse 7 that I just read. It was given power to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them. What is this beast tasked to do? Persecute the church. Yeah, wage war. There's violence here. There's domination here. There's oppression here that this beast is empowered to do. And here's the thing. There's always a beast at work, right?
That's right.
When you think about Ephesians 6, what does Paul say there? We put on the armor of God, again, because this is war. We put on the armor of God, but we have to keep in mind our battle is not against what? Flesh and blood. It's against the powers, the authorities, the dark powers of this age. Okay, there's something standing behind what we see with our visible eyes, because the dragon has put a beast in charge. We can see the beast. In fact, there's clues here that point to, I think, Nero being the beast that's referred to. This fatal wound, there's this legend about Nero being fatally wounded but coming back to life. I think it's pointing to this Roman emperor, right? But who's standing behind the one exercising the power?
Satan.
It's Satan. It's the dragon that is standing behind that. Which is something I think we have to take seriously. Because, like Paul says, there's different strategies for trying to wage war or survive a war with a dragon that's coming after you than in other kinds of wars. Let's show you this picture. What do you see here?
Very Stalin, right?
Yeah, the statue's presented in what kind of fashion? Like what is it representing?
Nazism.
Nazism, fascism.
Marxism.
Yeah.
Lenin.
Some kind of powerful authoritarian figure, right?
And the next one coming up, right?
Right. Yeah, they pull it down, and then what's right behind it?
Another one.
And I like the way, and Thomas Merton, I don't know that he knew this picture, but he describes it perfectly. Oh, I have the quote over here. I thought I had it in PowerPoint. He says this: a revolution, that's what we're seeing, right? A revolution. A revolution is supposed to be a change that turns everything completely around. But the ideology of political revolution will never change anything except appearances. There will be violence, and power will pass from one party to another, but when the smoke clears and the bodies of all the dead men are underground, the situation will be essentially the same as it was before. There will be a minority of strong men in power, exploiting all the others for their own ends. There will be the same greed and cruelty and lust and ambition and avarice and hypocrisy as before. Right? I mean, this is the story of world history, right? You can sum it all up right here. Revolutions come and go, power comes and goes, but right behind it, it's the same thing. Why? Revelation 13 has an answer, because behind all of this is another power. There's a dragon standing behind this that we often don't see, but is pulling the strings, is the puppet master, making sure that the lust and ambition and avarice and hypocrisy, all of that continues. It has a different look. There's someone else put in charge. There's a different puppet that is doing all the talking, but the one moving the hand's the dragon the whole time.
So the scriptures say spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realm. That's kind of what we're talking about? This force that you're talking about? Or?
Yeah, I think so. And then what do we do in response? That's the first piece of what Revelation 13 gets at. This is verse 8. All inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, all whose names have not been written in the Lamb's book of life, the Lamb who was slain from the creation of the world. Whoever has ears, let them hear. If anyone is to go into captivity they will go. And if anyone is to be killed with the sword they will be killed. There's an interesting variant there. Some manuscripts actually, it actually is different. It says, if anyone kills with the sword they will be killed. And so it's not just this, okay, there is this power. If you're going to go into captivity you're going to go, right? There is this power at work that we are just powerless to stand against. They're going to be able to exercise authority over us. And so some people think, okay, well, it's the same thing with the sword. If anyone's going to be killed by a sword, they're going to be killed by the sword, right? There's nothing we do really to escape that. Or maybe it's a call to lay down arms. that if anyone kills with the sword they will be killed. That in Revelation there is this call to remember what Christ said to Peter.
Love your
Right?
enemies.
Love your enemies. Yeah, put down the don't. Peter cuts the guy's ear. Put down the sword. Right? That our resistance doesn't look like the resistance within the world, because our battle is not with flesh and blood. Right? We have different kind of spiritual weapons that we have to use in order to oppose not the beast so much, but the dragon standing behind the beast. Right? This calls for patient endurance and faithfulness on the part of God's people. Right? If this is what the world looks like, if this kind of beast is in charge, what that calls for from us is patient endurance. Okay, then there's this other beast. Now listen to this, verse 11. And then I saw a second beast coming out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon. Okay, what's going on there?
Looks innocent, but it's not.
It looks innocent, but it's not. Yeah. It looks like a lamb. It looks like Jesus, actually. But it speaks like a dragon. As it wants to present itself as if it is friendly to the faithful. It wants to deceive the faithful into worshiping it, into supporting it.
So
Because it's like, oh, we're on the same team.
right, so the Antichrist, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and the word anti, we hear as like against, opposed, right? Against Christ, which there's truth in that. But in Greek, a lot of it's like this replacement. It's like a replacement Christ, right? Here's the real Christ. The Antichrist is a replacement for the real Christ. And so, okay, here's this beast that comes along that looks like Christ, but really isn't, actually is another puppet just like the other beast. And its whole job is to deceive the world into worshiping the dragon through the worship of this beast. And so there's these 2 things that Revelation is constantly trying to warn us against. One is to be faithful in endurance and patience when persecution comes, right? But the other is to not be deceived. Right? If you remember from what I've read from this chapter with what Gail put together for us, this calls for wisdom. Right? What is called for when facing this beast in the part of the church is wisdom. Because we have to be able to see through the facade, this veneer of what looks like purity, what looks like could be on our side, what looks like could be good, but in reality is just the dragon working behind the scenes once again. Yeah.
That reminds me of how important it is, going back to something you talked about in the last series about being like being two question people, where you can't just ask the surface level question. You have to be willing to continue to dive in and always get more follow up and more inquiry.
Yeah, whatever you see at face value, we want to keep poking, because there may be more there. I like the way Eugene Peterson says this. There is, in fact, no part of life in which deceit is more prevalent than religion. Like a religion can often tend towards this kind of deception. Organized behavior is prone to violence. Organized belief is prone to deceit. And so how do we protect ourselves from organized deceit? St. John is blunt. Use your heads. Figure out what's going on. Most of the conspicuous religion that is in vogue at any one time in the country derives from the land beast. That is, anywhere you look, whatever the popular religion is, a lot of times what's standing behind it is this kind of deception. Expose these religious pretensions. This religion has nothing to do with God. Get its number. It's a human number. This is not a divine mystery, but a con man's pattern. It's religion that makes a show, religion that vaunts itself, religion that takes our eye off of the poor and suffering and holy Christ. In the language of numbers, 666 is a triple failure to be a 777, the 3 times perfect whole divine number. 666 is the number of man, right? It looks like God, but it's just humanity. It's just mankind. Yeah.
David, it seems to me that they're pointing to us using wisdom, and it puts the lie to some of our beliefs that there is an antichrist coming, that there's one antichrist, because this shows that there will be innumerable antichrists and we have to have the wisdom to recognize and to discern what it is at that time. And not looking for a particular person as an Antichrist.
That's right. I think that's exactly right. Yeah, it's one of the things that often people, I think many people do with Revelation is, okay, we're going to find who is this person, and like in history, we're going to find the person who is the Antichrist. And the reality is, this is always relevant because there's always someone that the dragon is appointing to do this work, right? As we continue to struggle until Christ comes fully and finally, which is why we have to stay awake. We have to be paying attention. Because there is always, in the language of what Gail's about to get into, there's always a Babylon. Babylon is not just about this one historical reality, this kingdom that existed however many years ago. Babylon is a reality that pops up again and again and again and again. And every time you think it gets conquered, here comes another Babylon right behind it. Right? So Gail, I want to pass the baton to you. Harv?
What you got?
Well, I was just thinking, like, kind of what people have been saying, that this is less of, hey, this is coming up, and more of, hey, this is the world.
That's right.
That is maybe what it's.
And the language, what you've just reminded us of, that the Antichrist is a replacement. That's new for me. That information is new for me, and that is helpful.
Yes.
To know that anything that we use as a replacement becomes for us, you know? Okay. All right, this Babylon thing. Are you tired of hearing about Babylon? What is this Babylon deal? What does it represent? What is it? Is it the physical kingdom of Babylon? John is writing way post Babylon, right? He's writing in a time Babylon has long been destroyed and gone. So what is Babylon?
Sin, evil.
Okay? Okay?
Well, Jews would certainly understand the concept.
Okay, yeah, let's go
I
here.
think it's just this world system.
A world system, okay? What were you thinking?
The Jews would certainly understand that any reference to Babylon is not good.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's the human system of developing empire. All right? It's the human pull to develop empire. I don't think it was any accident that Steven Spielberg chose the language empire for his Star Wars universe. The word empire and the word imperial were the things that he used. How many Star Wars movies have you seen? And
George Lucas.
huh?
George Lucas.
George Lucas, listen to me, giving credit to whom it is not due. Thank you very much. That's helpful.
Star Wars fan?
Yes.
Oh,
New discovery?
That's good. That's good. This it's the human developed entity that stands for power, prestige, wealth, opulence, and control. And it began where? Genesis 11, Tower of Babel. Remember that story? That's what it is.
Would rebellion also be in there, or no, that's somewhere else?
Of course, I think of course, I think it's all in there. Because what is the Tower of Babel? It's when humankind decided to build their own world without God. Okay? They're going to build their own world. They're going to be gods unto themselves, which is rebellion against the living God, without the only living God. And y'all, it's been going on ever since. Ever since Genesis 11, same thing. Same thing. When John saw his visions and was doing these writings, it was Rome. It was Rome. No doubt. There was reference to Rome. But it had been the Babylonian Empire. And it had been the Assyrian Empire. And it had been the Egyptian Empire. It has been the Great Britain Empire. You remember the sun never set. It has been the Soviet Union empire. Okay. What about the United States? I didn't know if I'd have the courage to let it come out or not. Are we, generic we, are we working hard to build our empire? Let me share with you some characteristics of empire. These came from a commentary on Revelation by Michael Gorman. I think they are sobering. It's not fun to talk about. It's not fun to think about. But we have to. We have to. Empire, one characteristic, it is a system of domination that both seduces the powerful, partly with the promise of more power, and it intoxicates the common people with a false promise of security.
Yep.
Breathe. Second characteristic, it ties together politics and religion. Blasphemously self-promoting its own grandeur, making claims about itself that are rightly made only about God. Number 3. The imperial character masks many abominations that are at its core. It self-presents as very pleasing and full of benefactions. But the abominations include practices that use, abuse, and oppress defenseless human beings, treating them like commodities. In Revelation 11, did you see that reference to slave trade? In the list of commodities? Number 4, empire will eventually resort to anything necessary, including lethal violence, to silence the powerful counter-imperial witness from the faithful. Any power to shut that up and to shut that down. Number 5, empires grow in part because of the submission of the conquered. Number 6, empires often die of a self-inflicted wounds caused by excess. That's what happened to Rome, wasn't it? And caused by subjugation of people and people groups. The last one, number 7, empires, the particular historical realities, are in fact simply short-term manifestations or incarnations of something much more powerful and permanent, and it is the Antichrist. It is the replacement for what Christ came to do and be and give through us. That's sobering stuff. That is sobering stuff. And we're laying it out today because you got to think about it too. It has to be processed, and I've been thinking about this for weeks, and it's hard, and I don't want to go there. I like a Pollyanna approach to life, you know? Everything's going to be just fine. And it will. But why in the world does God, through John, tell the people, the followers of the faithful, it's going to take wisdom, it's going to take discernment, it's going to take patient endurance? Why? Because it can beat you down. All right? And so we have those things. Well, so as we think about Babylon, we think about earthly kingdoms, earthly systems. Then my next question is, why is Babylon judged by God? what glimpses, what pictures do we see in these chapters of why this judgment falls, this bowls of the wrath of God? Why is it coming against Babylon? What do you see?
No repentance.
No repentance,
Will kind of set themselves up as God.
substitution for God. I don't need you, Jehovah. I'll do just fine by myself. Yeah.
Well, they identified Babylon as the great city and as the mother and as before. It's a lot of references to that city and what it produced.
Yes.
It produced murder of the prophets. It's a lot that city produced that was sinful and against God and against Christ.
That's
So,
right. And there it falls out. And, when we think about why is it judged, there are two fundamental charges. All of these things that you mentioned are part of this. There's two charges against them: idolatry and injustice. Idolatry and injustice. Those things continue to come. And it has been a charge against humanity throughout the Bible, from the prophets to Jesus to Paul and on into Revelation. God will stand against idolatry and injustice, and we can't sugarcoat it. We can't make it seem okay, and we have, and we do. And so maybe it's time for the people of God to say, no more. No, not me. I mean, who have you got control over, folks?
You?
Just you. Just you. Yes.
I'm sorry, as I studied this book and reviewed the lessons and all of that, and I filter things out, what it boils down for me is that we're being warned, and because I know I have God's Holy Spirit, and it gives me wisdom, discernment, and judgment and all that, but there are times I'm weak myself, but God counts on us to be in fellowship. There are times that we as individuals are weak, that our fellows are supposed to lift us up, and we're told that two are better than one. So when I can't do it on my own, in my weak moments or so, I count on my brother or my sister who knows me well enough to be there for me, to support me alone, and the two of us support each other.
Right.
So we can fight this battle. We can't do it alone.
No, you can't. That's a good point, Carolyn. And isn't that the purpose of the church? Isn't that what we're here for each other?
Yes,
We're
Lord.
not here to judge each other's
Yes,
stuff.
Lord.
That's not our job.
Yes, Lord.
God does that job.
Yes, Lord.
But we're here to hold each other up
Yes, Lord.
and to lift someone up when they have fallen down
Yes.
and broken their nose or broken a bone or whatever. That's our task.
And ask the Spirit to
Yes.
let us see
Yes.
when
Absolutely.
this is happening, because often we don't recognize it. In
That's
our
right.
home, even, we don't recognize.
Because we are deceived.
That's right.
Yes.
And that's where the call gets real personal.
Yes, Lord.
Hard.
I think that a lot of times our modern culture is set up so we don't see this.
Yes.
And I think that it manifests, or at least one of the ways it manifests itself is in like constant busyness. Because when you're busy and you're not quiet and you don't take time to reflect, it's very easy to look past a lot of this, not see your role in it, and so I think that one of the things that it calls us to do, like it's hard to use practical wisdom if you don't think, and so it's like it's very sobering because like it's because like when things are bad in the world, a lot of times what we want to do is like let's do anything but like
Yeah.
think about all this stuff.
Yeah. And what Harvey's bringing out is the reason there is tragedy in our losing the spiritual practice of silence and solitude. And you guys, we're losing it because we're busy and we constantly, where's my phone? Kind of stuff, Constant. Well, good point, you guys. Babylon is guilty of sins against God, sins against people, fellow human beings, and the earth, the physical earth, the created world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As bad and as evil as the Babylonian experience was for the Israelites, God was still able